Hello, good afternoon. Nice to see you again. So welcome teachers, welcome to our session. So let me know if you can hear me and see me okay, as well as my slides. Yeah, let me know in the chat box. Great, thank you. And feel free to share where you are from, where you're watching this webinar from. So I am Super, based in Shanghai. I work for Macmillan Education as a teacher trainer and education consultant. And thank you very much for your feedback. Yes, we have teacher from Bangkok, Japan. We also have teachers from, a lot of teachers from Bangkok actually. Vietnam, yes, hello, good afternoon. Nice to see you. Great. So have you, were you there for the last two sessions? How are you enjoying the sessions from Macmillan Autumn Webinar Series? You missed last night's session. You can watch the recording on our Facebook homepage. Yeah, you can definitely go back and check out the recordings. Yes, very good. So welcome again for everyone to the third and final of our webinar trilogy. Some may say that we have saved the best until the last. So we will let you know, let you to decide on that after this session. And we also have teachers from Cambodia and Myanmar. Yes, welcome everyone. So let me introduce myself again. I'm Super from Macmillan Education, and I'm glad to be your host tonight. So at this moment, let me give you a little bit background about what we are doing for this webinar series. So at the moment, Macmillan are launching our Advancing Learning Season 4. Our aim is to help teachers keep up to date with current topics and trends in English language teaching, as well as add lots of practical ideas to your classroom, whether you are teaching remotely or in the classroom. So the trilogy is all about our Advancing Learning Season 4, where we will be focusing on 6 key pillars, as you can see on the screen now. So we have had already 2 sessions with a diverse team of speakers. Hope you enjoyed it. And today we welcome our Asian experts again. So firstly, Del, based in Bangkok, Thailand. Del is our original trainer for Southeast Asia. So Del, turn your camera on and say hello to everyone, maybe. Oh, he's here.
Can you see me all right?
Yes.
I can't see myself. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Great to see you all in the chats. I'm back again. Today I'll be presenting and talking to you about SDGs. So more of that in a moment. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you very much for hosting, Super.
Thank you, Del. Yeah, looking forward to your sharing today. And secondly, let me introduce you John Cruft, our original professional development manager for Asia. Say hi, John.
Hello, welcome Asia. Thanks Super. Hi Del, good to be back. And
hi John.
Can't wait. I haven't had a Friday evening session for a long time, so I'm pumped and ready to start the weekend in a positive mindset. Let's do this.
Yeah, feeling excited, right? So our boys today, they will be talk about the following topic, which is fun and engaging lessons with the SDGs. So do you have an idea about what SDGs stand for? Let us know in the chat box if you know what SDG means. And let me check out the chat box. Yeah, a little bit. John, do you have any idea about SDGs?
I do, but I'm not going to give away any secrets, Super, right now.
Yes, a lot of teachers. Yeah, that's right. Sustainable development goals. Yes. So today, John and Dale will be helping you uncover what the SDGs are all about and how to integrate SDGs to create like fun and engaging classrooms for teenager students. Okay, so we will break today's session into 3 parts. So in the first part, I will ask John and Dell about the topic, and hopefully they will share some opinions towards the importance of SDGs and how we could, what it is and why we should integrate them. And in the second part, Dell is going to share a lesson plan to you about how to integrate SDGs into the English classroom. And in the third part, John's going to share his lesson ideas as another example. Okay, so are you ready to kick off the discussion? Good to go?
Definitely.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Born ready.
So without further ado, let's set a context for today's session first. So have a look at the pictures on the screen and think about what do you think are some of the biggest problems in the world today. And teachers, you can also share your opinions in the chat box as well. Yeah, John and Dell, yeah, you can start to maybe give us some ideas about your the problems you think that are biggest in the world at the moment.
Yeah, obviously it depends where you're from, right, and your context. And I guess both Dell and I have been very lucky and privileged to work in different parts of the world, and which indeed, like the UK, we all have our same problems, right? And I think the UK right now we have so many issues, don't we, in terms of
Absolutely.
from climate change, sort of global warming, to poverty in some areas of UK as well, and just depends on the context. And what about you there in Bangkok? Last time I was living in Bangkok, we used to have lots of flooding there, Del. How's that going?
It's a real issue. I mean, I'm living with the spectre of flooding every day. I mean, at the end of at the end of the soil where I live, there's an area which is completely flooded, and we're just kind of praying that it doesn't move down towards us like it did in 2011, where we were completely flooded for 2 weeks. We couldn't stay in our home. So yeah, that kind of thing affects us. But I think what people are putting in the chat, poverty, obviously climate change adds to that flooding, and then there's the pandemic, of course, as well, which has caused huge issues in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess there are two kind of strands. It's kind of the issues and problems that you have around you, right, day to day, and then obviously there are issues in the sort of the wider community or the wider world as well. And I guess we'll chat about how we help students to access maybe more of a glocal kind of perspective, I guess, a little bit later with our lesson plans, won't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are all like more or less influenced by those like common problems we face on Earth, and we share a lot of problems in common as well. So here I have a few examples. Yeah, I have a few examples listed here on the slide. Maybe we can have a quickly read through all these issues. I think it's also mentioned by the teachers in the chat box. Yeah, about education, about poverty, about climate change, and also pandemic. Yeah, so with these problems, in mind, as we just discussed, so we could think about what SDGs are and what like exactly they will help with these problems.
Yeah, and how they're addressing them. Yeah, and I think if we look at that first one, which is about access to education, right? Oh, sorry, you've gone forward a little bit.
Yes.
I just want to pick up on a bit of a nuance with regards to access to education. I mean, this one talks about 258 million children with no access to education, which is shocking. But I think also within that, there's a lot of difference between the quality of education that children get as well. Now, I know in Thailand, for example, if you live in Bangkok or one of the bigger urban areas, you're more likely to get a better quality education than you are if you live in one of the smaller towns, for example, when really it should be equal for everybody, right? Depending on, regardless of where you live, everybody should have access to the same education. And unfortunately, that isn't the case. So while we look at that number with no access, there's a huge number of children that don't have the same access as well, creating an elite, which is not ideal.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of these areas are interconnected or interlinked as well, that can have knock-on effects on other issues as well. I think we're going to see in the next slide, actually, we'll talk about maybe some of the SDGs as well are interconnected, aren't they? So we can maybe jump onto that and have a chat about what they actually are in
Yes.
principle. So I think some of our teachers already identified like the sustainable development goals.
So maybe we can move on to give teachers a quick like a summary of what SDGs like a stand for. Let's do a like class text together. Yeah, John and Dell, you can do this together with all the teachers in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay.
To fill in the gaps.
Are a call for action by all. What are you going for, Dell?
Well, full disclosure, I kind of know the answers. I wrote this one, so I'll leave this to you guys.
Yeah,
See
so
what
this
they
is
say in the chat box.
from the United
What do you
Nations.
think? Yeah, what do you think in the chat? So I've given you a clue with the letter at the start. What do you think these missing words are?
Yeah, try to have a guess. Yeah, so probably we can start from the first. So by
Here we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
by all countries, no
Countries,
matter like poor or rich. Yeah,
okay.
to promote.
Nice one, Christopher and Preeti.
To promote while protecting the planet. To promote.
Joan as well.
Promote poverty, really. So
Peace.
promote
Peace sounds good.
Angelina, that's good. That's a good word.
prosperity, yeah.
Yeah,
While
it's all
protecting
about
the planet.
Okay.
Yeah. So they recognize that ending. I think that goes to
we've got that one.
poverty, yeah. And go hand in hand with strategies and build. Yes.
Nice one, Patrick.
Growth. Okay.
Yes,
Nice
right.
one, Patarin. Yeah.
And address a range of social needs, including, as we mentioned, for the first
excellent health and social protection. No.
Education, health, social protection, job opportunities, while tackling, as Dale mentioned, what change in Bangkok. Yeah, it's like
that's a strong collocation, is it? Climate change.
Yeah,
very strong collocation.
And I guess, I mean, these are massive, huge kind of issues which often we feel powerless to solve, really. And you know, I guess what we're going to try and do today is how we kind of break this down into digestible, bite-sized action points that we can use in the classroom, little baby steps that we can sort of access, kind of grow our knowledge and education about these areas, isn't it?
I think that's the key. Yeah, I mean, for us in the classroom, these are lofty goals for us to be able to achieve in a classroom. But by raising awareness, by doing activities, by tailoring lessons that are linked to these SDGs, to raising awareness with students, but also other teachers in the teachers' room, being advocates for this, for these social development goals will really help our learners outside of the classroom when they get older as well. Yeah.
Do you have those those SDGs on the slide there, Super?
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you know how many sustainable development goals are there? Ooh, and can you name a few? Yeah, according to your memory, without the support of the slide.
Straight in there, yeah. Okay.
Well, we've got some correct answers coming in here.
Yeah.
Lodi has got the right answer there. I think it's the first one to get the right answer.
Yes, so we've got 7.
And well done, Marissa from Thailand.
There we go. Yeah, 17. So actually these were developed on the back of the, was it in Rio in Brazil in 2012? They had the big the UN conference on sustainable development, and they developed something called the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs, which then kind of morphed into these sustainable development goals. I think they started 2015,
yes,
and they're looking to, and there are some targets, aren't there? Some target goals for 2030.
Yeah.
To end poverty, protect the planet, end discrimination against women and girls in these areas. So yeah, lots to do, and I guess we're going to have a chat that what we can do in the classroom as well, aren't we?
Yeah.
How
So
that
anything you
relates.
want to add to the importance of these SDGs, Del?
Yeah, I think one thing that I looked at the UN mission statement around these SDGs, and it's very short mission statement. If I could just read it to you, it says they are a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all people and the world by 2030. And I think what's interesting about this is that it separates people and the world. And I think that's really important, because if you end poverty and have everybody with equal opportunities to education and jobs, that's great, of course, and it's wonderful to have that. But if the world is ruined by that point, then there's not really much point in actually doing that. So I do like the way that they've kind of separated the two, and I like the way that they're goals. Now, goals kind of gives me the feeling that it's something that you can achieve, something that we can do, something that's actionable, something that we can actually get our hands dirty and achieve. Just knowing about them is not enough. We need to actually do something. And I think, as John said, within our lessons, we can raise awareness and also get students to engage with them and do something about it, and build advocacy that way as well.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you both for your input about your opinions towards the SDGs. So let's quickly maybe recap and match the SDGs to the problems identified earlier. So this problem probably is connected to which sustainable development goal?
Ooh.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for the chat, because they haven't seen the SDGs for long, and for them to memorize them. So maybe we can just let them know. But
Yeah.
you
Oh, wow.
can guess if you want to.
Oh, there
yeah,
we go.
good job,
Yeah,
Jessica. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah, about
definitely,
quality education, about the climate action, and also about gender equality, which is really important, and about the affordable and clean energy, and also moving on to the peace, justice, and strong institutions. And this one is about poverty as well. So we can definitely find there is a connection between these biggest problems in the world with these SDGs. We aim to solve some of these problems from our actions, daily actions. So the problem, here comes the problem. So how is there a place for us as English language teachers to integrate these SDGs into our classroom? So maybe Del, could you start giving us an example of one SDG integration with an English classroom?
Yeah, so this is kind of just showing you really some of the materials that are out there that actually do integrate SDGs without being explicit. So I've kind of looked at a lot of the materials that we have and tried to pick out some areas that I could match to one of the SDGs. Now you can see, if you go to the next slide, please, you can see I've chosen the SDG number 3, good health and well-being. So just think about this, and then maybe the materials that you're using, and see if you can match your materials as well, similar to what I've done. So the first one, super, next slide, or next click, is from a course. If you go back a bit, that's it. The first one is from a course book called American Language Hub. This is an adult book, and this basically is dealing with public health, and what learners have to do is they put forward ideas to improve the health of different age groups. So really nice, a nice sort of project work kind of activity for adult learners to increase that awareness. Next, click, super. This example comes from another young adult book called Skillful, and this basically deals with the food that we eat every day, and tries to raise awareness of students looking at the calories in and how much sugar they're taking in and that kind of thing. And then finally, the last example I've got for good health and well-being is from a primary book, and this primary book is Role Playing at the Doctors. It's from Story Central Plus, which is a new title or updated title for this year. And this role play is being at the doctors and giving advice to each other on how to stay healthy and what we can do if we are sick. So some really nice materials.
Yeah,
building in that SDG.
Yeah, and I like the word, you use the word project there as well. And I think ELT teaching is set up quite well for these kind of topics, because we do a lot of group works, discussions, maybe role plays. Some of you guys are doing projects, some of you are going a bit further, project-based learning, which we touched on in Wednesday's webinar. We do a lot of personalization tasks, don't we, as well, sort of linking you know, sort of health around the world and linking it back maybe to the world around us, or what we eat at home, for example, and personalize it to our own lives. So yeah, I think all things like the 21st century skills and the development of those, I think ties in quite well. And if we use the SDG type topics that we looked at already, I think it's maybe quite a nice little platform there, isn't it, for our students to get into.
Yeah. And what's your example, maybe, John?
Yeah, I was just going to show a few, and I think the big question is how engaged will our students be with these topics when maybe they don't see so much relevance to their lives. For example, they're more interested in computer games or whatever, Korean TV dramas or whatever. And I'll be interesting to hear from the teachers as well, you know, if they think their students would be engaged, particularly sort of teenagers, and that's quite an interesting discussion area. Hopefully that they would be and want to make a difference to their local community and their lives around them. But then part of it would be like these beautiful materials. This one again from Skillful. It's quite engaging. It's discussing smarter cities around the world. And they watch some videos about how different cities create smart cities, which is quite cool. So some video content, some discussion, beautiful infographic, and then some nice sort of discussion questions. So hopefully that could spark some engagement with our students. I think I have another example also. So that was about sort of sustainable cities. Yeah, sort of greener public transport as well. Again, watching kind of videos, maybe sort of taking different ways to get to work and greener options. And there's so much great content, but it's kind of what we do with it and how we engage our students, isn't it?
Yes, so very good examples that the SDGs are already integrated with into the unit topic, into the materials we created for the classroom. And here also, let's take a quick look at this quote. I think as English teachers, we always we're always aware of our roles and responsibilities and our power to influence students, right? So a lot of professionals also have come to believe that we're more than teachers teaching language. So how do you think about that?
I agree completely. Yeah, I think while we're generally there to teach English, so what I mean is teaching grammar, vocab, and the 4 skills, and everything that comes with that, pronunciation, all the different areas. I think we are in a unique position in ELT to use techniques, materials, and ideas to support this. I think we have a lot of flexibility generally in our classrooms, and therefore can bring global issues and concepts such as SDGs and 21st century skills into the classroom in order to prepare our students for the outside world. And obviously those students that have more awareness and more ability to navigate life outside of the classroom are more likely to thrive and succeed. And I think we need to be role models, John, right? I think we need to show that we care about these issues in order to motivate our learners, and then also provide them with interesting materials to motivate them even more.
Yeah, no, fully agree, and it's a great opportunity, I think, as a teacher. Yes, we are burdened often with planning time and things like that. Teachers are very busy, and that's why it's important to have maybe these things integrated into the course books, or ready-made materials that are ready to go to save teachers time. But yeah, it's a great opportunity, I think, for teachers to help students engage with the wider world, right?
Yeah.
And it's maybe we have a responsibility as well as a teacher. Maybe it's the right thing to do as well, to start looking in this direction.
Yes,
I think that word that you just said as well, responsibility, is really key, because to be fair, it's us, it's our generation and the generations before that have created these issues that need to be solved. So we do have a responsibility, because we've put a lot on the younger generation, and it's not going to be easy for them. So yes, we definitely do.
yes. Okay, now we have a better understanding of what SDG means and how we can put it into the classroom and integrate it with our class. So now let's have a look at the practical part. So it's time for John and Dell to share some practical lesson plans with SDG integration into it. So over to you, John and Dell. So
Great.
during the session, I will keep an eye on the chat box. Feel free to, chat about the questions. So we will have time at the end for Q&A as well. So now the stage is yours, Dell.
Great. Yeah, while Dell's getting set up there, I think we'll bounce a little bit and ask each other a little bit about each other's activities and things like that. And if you've got questions about our activities or your own ideas, feel free to share. And I'll hand over to Dell for his lesson.
Cool. So you can see my screen okay there?
Yes.
All right. So we've come up with a little framework for you today, just to help guide you through the way that we've prepared these integrating these SDGs into the classroom. And we've got a little framework here called SDG: select, deliver, and guide. So select is selecting the materials, deliver is delivering them, and guiding is looking at ideas maybe outside of the classroom, outside of the lesson, to help exploit these sustainable development goals. And we want them to be fun and engaging, obviously. With teenage learners, which is what we're looking at today, we often have problems with motivation, so being fun and engaging helps with that element of classroom management. So the first area, select. So I've selected some materials from one of our course books, but just a shout out here to One Stop English, which is our Macmillan site for teaching resources. If you're not a member of the One Stop English site, recommend that you go there, right, John? Full of teaching resources and a whole selection of teaching materials for teaching specifically sustainable development goals.
Great. Yeah, I'll give some more details about that at the end, actually, and direct teachers to the website.
Cheers. So the material that I've selected, as I said, is from Gateway to the World, which is a brand new publication for secondary learners. And I've looked at a lesson, which is our Great Learners and Great Thinkers lesson. Now, this lesson starts with a warm-up activity. It moves on then to some input from a video. And then we have a speaking section, which has a visible thinking routine. We then move on to more input in terms of a reading, and then finally with a speaking and a reflection activity. So we'll look at those in more detail, and I'll show you some ideas about how we can adapt these and really incorporate the SDGs within that, and just have some fun with the material.
Yeah, I guess, and even if the teachers are not using or don't have SDGs inside their course book, I think the ideas today will be good ones when they start thinking about if they want to design their own materials as well, and all the ideas will be relevant, won't it?
Yeah, and hopefully people can can really see that even if your materials are not signposted for SDGs, and in fact, our materials aren't signposted for those SDGs, they are signposted within the SDGs, and you might want to be looking at that as well. And as we go through mine and John's lessons, have a think about what social development goals you think the lesson is trying to develop and trying to action. I've got a specific one for mine, but it could actually incorporate many different SDGs. So here's a bit more information about the lesson I'm going to cover today. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the signposting for teachers and learners, which tells us what we're going to do. So to think about the importance of creativity and recycling and upcycling. So that would fit really nicely into one of those SDGs. And you might be thinking about that now. It's A1 plus level. I think, John, what are you're going to look at a higher level, right?
B1,
yeah.
Yes.
B1, okay, great. And with all these materials, you're not expected to do what me and John have done today and come up with your own ideas to teach these lessons, of course. We have full teacher's guides that you can see here. But I want to just go outside the teacher's guide a little bit and be a bit more creative and come up with my own ideas, which is what I like to do. We're going to look at 5 different activities. So we're going to start with warmers, then video activities to exploit the videos, some speaking, a reading activity, and then finish, as I said, with an extension activity to guide our learners outside the classroom. So you're going to get lots of practical ideas. If you don't catch them all, don't worry, we're recording this and you'll be able to watch it again or ask us questions in the chat. All right, so the first activity I'm going to look at is a warm-up activity, and it kind of exploits this idea around the vocabulary that we're looking at. The vocabulary is clothing, and there are tons of ways that you can brainstorm and elicit different items of clothing, of course. I'm sure you've got loads of ideas that you like. In fact, Johnny's going to show you a really cool idea in a minute. But I wanted to bring some element of SDGs into my warm-up activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an old shirt. I'm going to repurpose an old shirt and at least put into my mind some kind of upcycling and what upcycling means to give my students an example. So what I would do is I would ask them to design a football shirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself, what I would is get my own, maybe a white t-shirt and show them an example. But I know this is kind of difficult for all of our students. So what we have here is a template, a simple template of a white t-shirt. Now you can do this yourself if you want to, but I'm going to go quickly. So, and you probably don't have pens and pencils. You need some different colored pencils for this, but we're going to do a picture dictation. So if I tell you, like on the left-hand side, as you look at your shirt, between the collar and the sleeve, there is a blue line that goes from top to bottom. On the right-hand side, as you look at your shirt, between the collar and the sleeve, there's a red line from top to bottom. On the right sleeve, there are 2 blue stars. So as you can see, I'm dictating this to my students, and they are copying this down onto their own templates. It's a picture dictation. They can ask me to repeat. They can ask their friends for support if they're working in the face-to-face classroom. And we would go through this. And then at the end, we would compare our t-shirts. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole dictation, but they would end up with something similar to my dictation or my shirt, which looks like this beautiful Macmillan sponsored football shirt. Now, to provide more scaffold, if you do use this, you might need to get permission for the Macmillan logo, but I'm only joking. But if you do this online, for example, you might want to provide more, or even in a face-to-face classroom, you might want to provide some more scaffolding for your learners. And this is easy to do by providing the text of what you're going to say to your students as well. So you start off with it being a listening activity, and then responding by simply drawing on their template. Then they compare, and then you might want to show the actual reading activity that they can do with this as well. So it's kind of integrated skills, and it's nice. They can then get a new template, create their own football shirt, and dictate to each other. So they're being creative and then practicing the language themselves as well. And at the same time, remembering that an old white t-shirt could be turned into something pretty cool if they wanted to. The next activity we're going to look at are our video activities. So here you can see the video activities are quite thorough. There's a sort of a gist activity, if you like, and then followed up with a more of a detailed activity while they watch their listening, or while they, sorry, watch the videos. Now, what I like to do with videos is separate them into pre, while, and post. So I've got 3 activities for you here. The first activity is a pre-activity, something to get the students interested, maybe to stimulate their interest. And what we've got here, I'm not going to show you the video because of time, and also maybe because of the issues with it lagging, depending on where you are. But I'm going to show you what I've done. I've watched the video and I've taken some screenshots. There's my first screenshot. And what I do now is elicit from the students what they can see. All right, what can you see? What do you think? Maybe even what do you wonder? It's a visible thinking routine, right? And they can go through this and they can predict what they're going to watch. I have a number of different pictures throughout the video, building up a narrative of what the video is going to show. And then if I have well, it doesn't matter, stronger or weaker students, I might want the scaffold because this could be a challenging activity for A1+. So I'd probably add some language there for students to maybe inspire them to give me some ideas. We could do this as a class activity. We could do this in a breakout room where they could get together and discuss the pictures themselves and then come back to the classroom and feedback. So this prediction activity, there's no right or wrong answers. Then they would watch the video and check and see if their ideas are similar to what the video then tells them. A while watching video activity is one which I've used many, many times, and it works really, really great in a face-to-face classroom. And I'm happy to see that a lot of teachers in our region are slowly but surely going back to the face-to-face classroom. My daughter is on school holidays at the moment, but when she goes back on the 8th of November, she will be in a face-to-face classroom, which is really great. And I know in Cambodia as well, people are going back to the classrooms in November as well. So that's good news. So in a face-to-face classroom, this works really well. You've got 2 students working in pairs. You've got student A there and student B. Student A is looking away from us. Student B is looking towards us. Now you imagine in a classroom, we have this student A would be looking at the screen and student B would be looking away from the screen. You turn down the sound and play the video. Okay, important to turn down the sound, and student A would then watch the video and tell student B everything that they see. So they say a girl is in colorful clothing walking down the street. And student B would record this and write it down. And then after they'd finished, they would compare the notes, they change the roles, and then they repeat with the sound down. Student B looks at the screen, student A looks away, and compare their notes, and then they watch the video and see if their ideas are correct. Post-watching is a very simple activity. All I do here is I look at the tape script, or the video script, and I highlight areas that I want to make mistakes. So I cross out Oxford and change this to London. And then I dictate to my students. I tell them, I read the video script. So I'd say, take a walk down Cowley Road in London. It's the main shopping street in the area. And when I make a mistake, they have to stop me and correct me. So they would say, Teacher Dell, you've made a mistake. It's not London, it's Oxford. So then I'd go through the rest of it, creating these mistakes. This is a really lovely activity because it takes about 2 minutes to prepare, and gets lots of students involved, and they have to be involved all the way to the end. You can create it as a team game as well, and have put them in teams and give them points.
Yeah, I'm thinking as well that you could actually have one in each group to actually read the script to the others, and then I guess that would make it more student-centered, wouldn't it? One would read the script, and that could be quite cool.
You could
and the
pair
others
them
cannot
up,
see.
couldn't you?
The others cannot see the script, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't see it, but you could pair them up, and they can make their own mistakes, and they could do it like that as well, for sure. The next one is looking at the speaking activity. I'm a bit worried about the time, John, but we'll keep going. Maybe we can discuss that in a minute. But the speaking activity, we're looking at these visible thinking routines. So we've got the visible thinking routine on the right, which asks 3 questions about something that the students have created. Now, the students are asked to draw an idea for upcycling something from their home. So they were to have these 3 statements. What do you see? What do you think the object is for? What do you wonder? Now, with any speaking activity, you need to scaffold. So I've scaffolded it by providing some more questions to ask under these different categories. So the size, the shape, the material, the color, the purpose for, and then some more questions to work out to help students with what do you wonder. And then from this, we would then build a dialogue. So the dialogue is 2 students working together. They're talking to each other about this object. So I would ask the questions to my students. I'd start the dialogue with what do you see? And the students would give me an answer, and we'd build this dialogue. So maybe the teacher or the person here is saying, what do you see? And this student is then saying what they can see. So they can see a bent fork, all right? Then person A says, what color and size is it? It's silver, normal size for a fork. So you can see I'm going through my scaffolding here and building this dialogue up until we get to the end of the dialogue. Now, what's great about these is that you build these dialogues, students create the dialogues themselves. You can create pronunciation. You can just let them go where they want to go and just keep winding them back into maybe to the routine or to the scaffolding that you have there. But it's really very much student-centered and really nice way. So then the students would practice the dialogue, and you would check their pronunciation, monitor them, find out if everything's going okay. And then what you can do is this vanishing dialogue. So you have the dialogue up there, and what you do is they practice together in pairs. And then after they've practiced, you put them in a new pair, but you remove some of the dialogue. And now they have to think and remember what the questions or what the sentences are. And you keep going, practice with another person, practice with another person, practice with another person, and then you have no dialogue, and they have to practice and remember. It's really great because it provides a sense of progress, sense of achievement, and also gets them working together to help each other when they can't remember what the dialogue is. So I recommend that you try this activity as well. Quickly, the reading activity that I've selected, or activity that we're going to do, deals with language. So what I would like students to do, again, is be very student-centered. It's called Definition Derby. We've got students in 2 groups. One group are verbs and one are nouns. So group A, or the 2 groups, would select 5 words. So 5 nouns for group B, 5 verbs for group A. They work together and they write the definitions for those words. And then simply they get back into pairs, A and B together in a pair. And they dictate the definitions, and the students have to guess from the text what those words are. Again, it's very student-centered, it's lots of collaboration, and it builds a deeper understanding because students are teaching each other. The best way to learn anything is to teach it, right? So it's a nice way of doing it. And then finally, we have the guide element, which is a way of delivering the SDG outside of the classroom, if you like, or extending it within the classroom. So what I've got here is I'm going to use this the speaking activity where they have to come up with their own idea for upcycling. So they've already had to draw it, but now what I want them to do is I want them to make something. So this could be built into some kind of project. So I want them to actually engage with upcycling, and this would be at home, and they get their mums and dads to help if they want to, or brothers and sisters. The first thing I'm going to do is give the students a choice and give them some examples. So here you can see a simple pencil box made out of an old plastic bottle. You can see a nice plant pot made out of an old plastic bottle, and a nice tote bag made out of some old cement bags. So this might take a bit more work because you need a sewing machine for this, but sewing machines are quite common in Thailand, where I am, in my context. So I think students might be able to create those. So hopefully I'm sparking some ideas for them to upcycle something, but I need to get a commitment. So what I've done is I've created a contract, and here's my contract. They give their name, of course. They say what they will make and what it will be out of, how it supports the SDG, and you'll see my SDG is number 12, responsible consumption and production. They give themselves a deadline before the end of the term, and they then decide, give them a choice on how they want to present their ideas, either through writing something, or you can see the ideas here. And then we have kind of a nice way of tying in the SDG with what they've done in the lesson, and using it outside of the classroom.
Nice.
Okay, that brings me to the end of my ideas. I know I went a bit quick, but like I said, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat. I'll answer them now, or you can watch the video again later. Over to you, John.
Great, thanks, Del. And no, I like the way that you use the kind of the course book to kind of scaffold the learning, and almost like scaffold actions in line with the SDG. So building up to creating something which was in line with that SDG, which is lovely, and they get to engage kind of actively with it, and I reckon that'll be pretty engaging for your teen class.
Thanks,
I'm gonna do the same as Del. So we're gonna have a look at selecting, delivering, and guiding our students. In terms of selecting, I'm going to have a look at, a big one. We're going to have a look at plastic and the environment, something that really upsets me on a daily basis, because I feel I should be doing more. I get so angry with myself when I use a plastic bag or something like that. So this lesson, hopefully by the end of it, our students will be finding alternatives for the plastic that they are using in their lives. So yeah, a bit like Del, we have some sort of lead-ins, some warm-ups, we have some video activities, some thinking tasks, some reading, and some extension as well. Don't worry if you don't have video embedded, for example, in your course, like these ones. I mean, there's so many great videos, Del, you could find, online, right? To show them, or as a lead-in to the topic, you could make some comprehension questions or a quiz around those videos. So we're going to have a look at the impact of plastic on the environment. And again, I'm basing mine around Gateway to the World, a new secondary series for teenagers. And I'm going to be looking at the B1 level. Again, this comes with a lesson plan, and I'm going to put my own little teaching touch on that lesson plan. So actually, they kick off this lesson. They're looking at the south of Spain, where they grow a lot of the fruits and vegetables which are imported by countries like the UK. So it begins actually reviewing fruits and vegetables first, before then having a look at the impact of growing those fruits and vegetables. So in terms of a warmer, I would warm up looking at the fruits and vegetables vocabulary. Shout it out is one I used to use many years ago when I was teaching it in Vietnam. Basically, two groups. The teacher writes down a list of 10 fruits, and group one tries to guess those 10 fruits in 1 minute. by shouting out the fruits. It gets a little bit noisy, Del, but I think it creates a nice kind of buzz at the start of the class. If it's too noisy, just get them to whisper. Get them to whisper,
Yeah.
and don't shout. Likewise, well, for example, if they guess 7 fruits in the 1 minute, they win 7 points. Then you've written down 10 vegetables, and you do the same with group 2. If you want to be more student-centered, you could get the students themselves to write down a list of 10 and challenge other students. If you want to extend that into a little bit of speaking, they could then look at the vegetables and fruits and discuss in their group or with a partner their kind of top 3 fruits and vegetables, and maybe give them some sentence prompts and some questions there. If you're online teaching remotely, again, you could do the activity and they could be typing in the chat box, for example, and the top 3 they could be doing in breakout rooms.
I love this activity, Joe. I've used it many times. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah?
Great fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just to connect to the speaking around this lesson about where does your fruit and veg come from? It's quite good to be aware of that, isn't it? I prepared a little bit of a multiple choice quiz here, where I looked at the UK and looked at maybe the key imports from the UK and gave 3 options, and they have to guess which one is correct. So for example, Del, where do you think in the UK, where do you think, we have a lot of beef in the UK, but we also import, where do you think is the biggest, which country do you think we import the most from? France, Belgium, or Ireland? Maybe the chat box, you guys can guess too.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I don't know why, Ireland. I don't know why.
You are absolutely correct. Well done. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah. So you could do a little bit, again, that works quite well if you're online teaching remotely or face-to-face, and a nice little sort of quiz there. And then we can move on. Again, there's video content here. With videos, when you're teaching remotely, if possible, I would suggest adopting more of a flipped classroom approach. So where they are doing, watching the video at home at their own time, own pace, and maybe doing some comprehension type questions. And then when you do see them, maybe in the online class, maybe in breakout rooms, they could, discuss those questions, and then you could extend into sort of more discussion. Okay. Sometimes watching videos online at the same time with your students, a whole load of issues with internet technology and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, think about kind of flipping that approach. This one is when you could do this at home, or you could do it live in the classroom as well. And they would watch the video. This is about Spain and the areas that they farm. A lot of those fruits and vegetables, which creates a lot of this plastic that is end up going into the sea, into the Mediterranean Sea. So here they would watch the video, and then they would make a note of 3 basic informations from the video about farming. And I would use, for example, a live Google Sheet here. So I would have all the names of the students, and they could type in their 3 basic information areas or facts. And then the teacher can see that document live and see who's sort of typing in, and others can see what's being typed as well. Okay. Another little post-watching task for a video, if you're using sort of videos in your classroom, is a relay writing. So this one, actually, they correct the mistakes from the text, and they have to find 8 mistakes from the text. So here, relay writing, they could work in pairs. So student A would start writing 1 sentence based on this text here, and if they need to, if they think they need to change it, they would correct any mistakes. So they write 1 sentence, then pass the paper to student B, who writes the next sentence. If they think they need to correct anything, they do so, and they keep passing around. You could do it in pairs, could do it in small groups, okay, and then sort of check as a whole class. All right.
Nice.
Great little thinking task. Del showed an example of a visible thinking routine. See, think, wonder was yours, right? See, think, wonder. So this is another example of a visible thinking routine. And if you don't know what they are, do search, because they are fantastic, aren't they, for getting students discussing in groups, get them thinking, get them exploring. And this one is called Think, Question, Explore. So we're talking about plastic and the problem of plastic. So in their group or individually first, they would think about the problem of plastic and what they think they know already. Okay, what questions do you have about plastic, and how could you explore to find more information? Okay, and again, that explore part, we could extend that later, couldn't we, into a little project, or they could create something a little bit later. All right. So actually, we're going to read a text now about plastic for a day, no plastic forever. Okay, so they would use that title from the reading for that think, question, explore task. Okay, again, you could do that in class, or you could do it online if you're teaching remotely as well. All right, but what I suggest is to do it, or set a time limit and make it measurable. So for example, you might do question 1 first with everyone. Okay, you've got 1 minute. Write down 3 things you think about, you think you know about the problem of plastic. Okay, with a time limit. Make it measurable. Okay, and again, that could be done if you're teaching remotely, or in class. If you are teaching remotely, this one is also from the Google Suite. Del thinks I'm working for Google on the side. This is a Jam board. So you can find that in the Google apps. And you can set up a little sort of post-it note brainstorm board. So you can have the think, question, explore, and students can add online, they can add their own post-it notes with the right color there. So actually you could give different groups different colors, couldn't you? So you know who is adding to the board, and then you can kind of summarize and review that. Okay, and then you can actually use that board later after they've done the reading to see, you know, what's been answered. I might cover a little bit of vocab as well before the reading. What can you see there, Del? What can you see in those pictures?
Can see a mountain range. You can see is it the digestive system, and those the enemy, what seems to be the worst thing in the whole world is the plastic straws.
Straws, yeah.
And I'm guessing that they're related, that there's something to do maybe climate change and the lack of snow, and I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, I wasn't thinking that they were connected, but actually that would be a great task, wouldn't it? That you would give them some vocab from the text and then ask them, how do you think the vocabulary are connected together, to help them to kind of predict what they're going to read in the text. But it's also a chance to cover some more kind of technical type vocabulary, and they can underline that vocab, find that in the text as well.
Now I can see plastic on the mountain ranges. I see.
So if you did that as a prediction task, where they try to connect those pictures, right, and then they would read to see if their connection was correct or not. And then basically what they would do here is, remember that thinking task where they were thinking about what they know about plastic, the questions they have, what they want to explore further. They read the text to check if those questions have been answered, basically, to see if there's any kind of similarities to what they said in the previous post-it note activity, to see if any of those areas come up, basically, which is quite nice. And you can do that in groups. What I suggest, if you do that activity, is to use some answer prompts. So we've got 3 core questions. I've added 1 question there as well. So what fact worries you the most and why? Okay, an additional little one for fast finishers, or if you have some stronger groups. But what I would suggest is to have some answer prompts to get them started in their discussion. if you're teaching remotely and maybe in a Zoom breakout room or face-to-face in groups, give them little sentence prompts for each of those questions to get them started. Otherwise, sometimes they just never get started in their breakout room. Okay. And then the fun begins. They get on some speaking tasks where they're looking at their plastic consumption. So how often do you use different types of plastic? Can you think of different things that you could have as an alternative to those plastic items that you use? Okay, could you make your life plastic free? Brilliant. So you could actually bring in, couldn't you, plastic items from home and get students to brainstorm, couldn't you, alternatives, and give prizes for the best, most creative alternatives. Again, you could do that if you're online teaching remotely. You could set up a little Google sheet, divide them into groups. They could discuss in their breakout rooms plastic things they use at home. Again, make it measurable, maybe 3 things they use at home, and then they come up with non-plastic alternatives. And again, everyone can see that live document, which is quite cool. You can see all the ideas coming in. The teacher can then summarize and give some feedback at the end. Okay.
Nice.
Again, little the activity would be, yeah, they can, if they're face to face, they could paste their plastic things around the room. For example, they could write on little maybe green colored paper and sort of paste around the room. Although a little bit talking about sustainable development, I don't want to use paper now because it's kind of environmentally bad. Yeah. So I think I need to think of a different example there, actually. But
if it's sustainable,
recycle paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Paper from a sustainable forest or something like that. You're all right, aren't you?
Yeah. So they would paste their different plastic items around the room, or bring in the items, and in pairs or groups they walk around and they come up with 3 non-plastic alternatives. And if you want, they can make marks, or they can have little stickers, and they can vote on their favorite alternatives. Okay.
Tell you what would be interesting as well with plastic is getting them to take or to maybe spend an hour not only using things that aren't plastic. So, and then maybe write a reflection on things that they couldn't do because it was plastic. So, you know, they wanted to, I don't know, make a cup of tea, but the kettle's made out of plastic, and that kind of thing, and reflect on how it made them feel. I think taking things away is a good way of raising awareness, right? Because if you can't do something because of something, it's an interesting feeling.
Definitely. I was just thinking on the environmental side. I mean, if your students, as a little homework task, they would take photos of plastic things at home and then bring that to the classroom, and then they just put the phones with the photo on the desk, right? And they can just walk around looking at the phones with the plastic items.
Yeah,
and that would be a lot more environmentally friendly.
Yeah,
it?
And probably more engaging because it's phones, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually, if you're teaching remotely, this is way better, because if they're at home and you can finally encourage them to turn on their videos, they could actually, you know, say, okay, you've got 2 minutes, run away, find some plastic things, they bring back and throw it, show it on the video. And actually, if you're teaching remotely, that could be a benefit. And then finally, in terms of sort of guiding them to extend, so they could go on and do a little project here about think globally and act locally. So they think of everyday things that affect the planet, from the transport, food, the things you buy. What could you do differently? Okay. And they can actually rate themselves how well they think globally and act locally. They can rate themselves maybe at the start and then maybe at the end of the activity as well. Just getting them thinking a little bit more. And you could have this is one idea, a little group presentation they could do in groups. Maybe the teacher would model this first, put them in groups. They would brainstorm these areas and then maybe choose one kind of baby step action that they could then follow up with at home. And again, give them choice how they would present that. A PowerPoint, they record a video, a poster. Could you think of anything else, Del? PowerPoint, poster, create a little video, maybe our teachers can
Yeah,
suggest in the chat box too some more ideas.
yeah. Give us some ideas about how you would present. But I mean, certainly with students having access to phones and things like that, video presentations that generally are really easy to do and fun for students to do.
Yeah. So this is like a little graphic organizer, like a 5-pointed star. So they would brainstorm in their group maybe 5 kind of areas or problem that they've highlighted with their consumption, or things that they could change or find alternative to. So they discuss and agree 5, and they can write them on each point of the star. And then in their group, they kind of discuss one action point. So from those 5, they agree on one action point. There's loads of discussion and giving opinions and things like that, and then agreement on one area, and then they can present that star to the rest of the class. Okay.
I really like the baby step idea as well, John. I think it's very important that we don't expect too much from our learners immediately when engaging with these SDGs. And if we do word it like that, we give them something that's, like you mentioned earlier, something that's achievable, something that's possible, then it makes them feel more comfortable.
Great. Yeah. All right. So yeah, there were 2 ideas in terms of sort of lesson plans, and to be honest, it's like any topic, isn't it, Dale, that you do? I mean, we cover so many topics in ELT, and these just happen to have an SDG twist to them. The kind of activities we'd do would be kind of activities we would do for any kind of, reading or speaking kind of lesson. So yeah, we hope the ideas were useful for you guys. I'll give you a little bit more information a bit later about where you can find ready-made resources actually for SDG, or ready-made lesson plans for different levels. I'll show you where you can find that a bit later. Should we invite Suba back on for a little bit of question Q&A?
Hello. Yeah,
hey.
Thank you very much both for sharing the great lesson plans and the great activity ideas. Many teachers are saying that these topics are very relevant and very interesting to be like integrated into their classrooms and into their context as well. And I've got a few questions as well for you. And while we go through the questions, if teachers out there, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask us in the chat box or using the Q&A tool. Okay, so the first question is from teacher Shamansha. If I'm not pronouncing it right, just forgive me. So she's teacher Shamansha is asking, are these techniques ideal only for face-to-face learning, or can these be effective in online teaching platforms? Because you mentioned like different ideas online and also like face-to-face. Maybe you can share more ideas for teachers who are still teaching online using these techniques.
So
yeah, go on, Dale.
So I think all the activities that I presented would be effective online or face-to-face, except for maybe the pair work video activity while watching. I think you could do that online, but you'd have to have your breakout room classroom management really on point. It would work much more effective face-to-face, but yeah, if you can manage your breakout rooms, then there's no reason why you couldn't do it online as well.
Yeah, I think what we tried to do, for example, with the Google Sheets and the Jamboard and things like that, breakout room discussion groups, yeah, we tried to give kind of remote teaching options as well. And I'm not sure the same for you, Del, but when I'm thinking about a lesson, I would always think about it as face-to-face first, and then just have a look down and just maybe substitute in options. And I think with the technology and that we've got now and the platforms that we use, a lot of teachers with the course books they have, there'll be digital e-book versions which you can actually show on the screen, which is brilliant, which contain all the video and audio and things like that. So I would think about it as a face-to-face lesson first, and then just think about how you might adapt some of those activities to online. But again, the secret is not overloading, is it? Overloading with too much technology in the remote teaching context. And
my advice for any teaching online really comes from from experience, but is get good at it. Find a different a platform that you like. Of course, you might be forced by the school to use a certain platform, and then any other apps that you might use, like Mentimeter or Kahoot or Quizlet, or get 3 or 4 of these apps and be really excellent at those apps and use those time and time again. And like, or the Google Sheets, Google Docs, that kind of thing. Be an expert at 4 or 5 of them, and use those.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's also important to train your student to be used to these 4 or 5 like platforms. Yeah, get them up to like speed, and then you and the students will work cooperatively together online. And then the second question, from teacher Joko. Teacher Joko mentioned about these topics can be good for like clear lessons. For example, when you're talking about plastics, we can integrate like a biology topic. Yeah, how do you think about this idea? Is it possible to integrate like content knowledge with this SDGs?
Yes, I think that's a good starting point, isn't it? I think a lot of the CLIL content topics, often they come with non-fiction type text, don't they? Which may be about the environment or social issues and things like that. So there could be quite a lot of overlap there, definitely. You don't have to integrate SDGs. Well, I was going to say you don't have to integrate it, in every lesson. It's nice to keep it relevant, across the whole curriculum, isn't it? And I think the best approach is to probably have a school-wide kind of buy-in to like an SDG approach. So like our schools promoting 21st century skills, or like it's promoting CLIL, project-based learning. And eventually, I think in the next year or so, I think schools will, won't they, on a school-wide basis, adopt kind of SDGs and environment and things in their curriculum, won't they? But I'm not sure the answer the CLIL question. I went off on a rant, but yeah.
Again, I think they're ideal for CLIL lessons, and ideal for teaching other subjects as well, for sure. When you think about things like social science, and I'm sort of trying to think back to Story Central, which is a primary book, and I think it's even level 1, which would deal with students around 6 years old. There's social science element lessons in that deal with things like transport, for example, and you can just raise awareness of transport and ask these children how they get to school. And this is something that Harry mentioned last night in the ESDG Global Citizen panel. He was talking about raising awareness by asking them, how long it takes them to get to school, and are there other alternatives? How else could you go to school? How long would it take you to walk to school, for example? And these kind of things, and just raising awareness that way with 6-year-olds, you can do it. And then when it comes to them actually being sustainable citizens, they're more likely to have an idea about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. And John, Dale, I know you have also got some other like extra resources to share with teachers about SDGs, right?
Yeah, maybe it's a good time to have a look at those. And I mentioned about these ready-made worksheets. So we have these for primary and secondary. And then inside those 2 levels, we have kind of different CFR type levels. So A1, A2, B1, etc. So teachers can go on to One Stop English. That's www.onestopenglish.com, and they can search through and find different worksheets. There's worksheets on plastic and climate change and all these kind of issues, recycling, the ones that Del looked at today, and kind of ready-made as reading texts. And then there are stages for the worksheets, warmers, main activities, etc., and extensions for collaborative tasks or games and things like that, as well as teachers' notes. So do go on, and I think we'll put that in the chat box, won't we? A link to One Stop English.
Yeah.
So teachers have got that. Do you want to? I saw this one, Del, and do you want to you found this lovely resource. Do you want to have a quick chat about that?
So this is from the UN's actual their website, and there's loads of resources there that you can dip into, and I really like this one. It's a board game. Everybody loves a board game, right? And it takes them through the 17 developmental goals.
That's
and
amazing.
It's like a Trivial Pursuit kind of thing. There's questions that they have to ask and answer as they get to different parts of the different SDGs as they go through. So I think that I'd put the questions up there as well. Super, if you click on.
I've got that. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, you can see some of the questions that they have to ask each other, and if they get the question right, they can stay there or move back. The rules and everything are there, but I thought it was a really nice resource.
And I'm just thinking, I mean, you could get students to make their own board games around, for example, around plastic or upcycling, maybe from the text that they read about. They could make, their own kind of fact quiz about what they learned and then play it themselves. And even if you're online, right? I mean, the teacher, you could show this on the screen, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And then make a Kahoot out of it.
Yeah, and if students have got a dice at home, or they can make their own dice, can't they? Send them instructions and they can roll that at home, and they'll probably just say 6 every time if they're working at home, wouldn't they? But yeah.
And I think this is something that Angelina mentioned in a chat. She said, any tips on involving parents on SDG initiatives?
Yes.
And I think this is something that you could definitely get parents involved in. This would be a nice way to, you could send this out at the start of the school year to parents, these resources, and even mention it to them. Say, look, we're going to be focusing a little bit on SDG in our classes. We're going to integrate it into the lessons that we teach, and maybe even have standalone project lessons using the one-stop English resources that deal directly with SDGs, and get them asking questions and get them asking you questions about them as well. Because I mean, I'm sure parents would be interested to know about them as well.
Definitely. Great stuff. Lovely resource, that one. Cool.
Yes. And there is one more question in the chat box from Teacher Chen. What is the challenges when we do the breakout room for the students to have group discussion? I thought it's great ideas for breakout room, but the thing is, it's not easy to facilitate while the students have group discussion. So how can we manage them? Thanks.
Good question. Do you want me to take?
Yeah.
Go on, Del.
You have it. You can have it.
Okay. Well, we can both share it. Yeah.
We've probably got the same answer. So you go. Your voice is more beautiful.
I agree. There's always issues, isn't there, with breakout rooms? I think probably two things on the management of those is, build the kind of the culture of using breakout rooms, the etiquette, the rules with that as much as you can. And I think right from the start, as much as you can, just have very short, maybe 30-second, 1-minute breakout rooms with a measurable, specific kind of challenge for them to achieve something in that minute, for example, and then get them used to working in breakout rooms. And then as you go through, you can kind of extend that time a little bit with your students once they have that culture. The second thing is you'll often fail because they don't know who's going to start or what to talk about, or they got a bit lost. So give them some prompts, some sentence prompts, for example, to make it clear, to help them start their answers. For example, number them in their groups and say, okay, number 1 is going to start speaking, for example, just to help with that kind of scaffolding of the task. Was that what you're going to say, or you want to add something, Del?
It's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, you've got to practice makes perfect. So like John says, put them in there all the time for different little things for short periods of time. You've got to train them how to use the breakout rooms. And once they're trained to do it, then like John said, give them the language they need to be able to communicate within the room. You can't just put, even if we all put you into breakout rooms now and said, tell each other what you thought about the session today, guaranteed that a lot of people wouldn't have their cameras on, they wouldn't speak, but if we gave you a task to do and said that you have to report back, then there's more reason for you to do that. You have to have a reason to do something, and making students responsible for that and giving them the language they need to do that will help your breakout rooms be more successful. But that's a whole new training session, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, so thank you very much for all the comments, all the questions, all the good words. Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, John Dell, for your good ideas and sharing of the lesson plan. So lastly, I just want to mention that all the examples we have included into this session are from our brand new, like a secondary course called Gateway to the World. It's a very good book for teenager students to involve and engage them with the latest topics, videos, and a lot of resources. If you're interested, you can go and find out sample units of Gateway to the World on macmillanenglish.com. Yes, and also if you want to watch recordings, follow us on Facebook in Asia and follow us on WeChat. If you are based in China, we will share a lot of webinar recordings and a lot of articles, resources for you to improve your teaching skills. Yeah, and lastly but not least, we want to hear from you about your feedback on our sessions. Yeah, you can scan this QR code and submit your feedback, your opinions towards the 3 sessions of our webinar trilogy of this Glocal autumn webinar series. So we really look forward to your feedback. Yeah, we can adapt your opinions and also improve our training in the coming year. Okay, so thank you very much again. I hope we will see you soon. So
can I just say something?
Yes, Daryl.
So just before we go, and I think this is what we've all spoken about. I think it's a really nice community that we've got here, and it's really nice to see the same names in the chat. I know we can't shout out to everybody, but it's really nice to see you guys here from Wednesday and even last night and now today. So really do appreciate you spending time with us, and hope that you get a lot out of it. I mean, we've talked about the different people in the chat, and it's really nice to see you all. So hopefully we'll see you again for the next ones as well.
Yes, John, a few last words for you, maybe.
Oh, I couldn't say it better than that, but I can't wait to see everyone online soon, but hopefully face to face soon. And yeah, keep coming back, and hopefully we'll keep putting some good, useful content out there for you as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and that feedback as well is an opportunity for you to tell us what you want more of. So please make sure you give us feedback.
Sure. So now it's time for us to enjoy the Friday night, maybe. So he's been Del.
He's been John.
She's been super. Thanks for stopping by, Asia.
Stay classy, Asia.
Have a super weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.